देवहितं यदायुः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Let us now pray together. Yes, recite the prayer loudly. We offer our salutations to the all-loving being who endows all beings with consciousness. We meditate on the Lord, who is the origin of the universe. Lord, thou abidest in all. Thou art all. Thou assumest all forms. Thou art the origin and goal of all. Thou art the self of all. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss. Salutations unto thee. May the world be peaceful. May the wicked become gentle. May all creatures think of mutual welfare. May their minds be occupied with what is spiritual and abiding. May our hearts be immersed in selfless love for the Lord. Peace, peace be unto all. Dear friends, from this morning we have been observing the birth anniversary of Vivekananda with various different types of programs. It is, we had a special chant early morning, then we had the ritual worship and lot of wonderful devotional music. Then we had flower offering, food offering. There was a very nice video depicting the life and teachings of Vivekananda. And now, in a way, the most prominent or most important program during this birthday celebration is to have some food for the thought. There is the food for the guts. That is good, important, no doubt. But there has to be food for the thought. Swami Vivekananda, in one of his very early letters written to his brother monks, he says there that about the birthday celebration of Sri Ramakrishna, that what did you do? You had big worship, played the bell, and then distributed food. No, that's not really enough. What you did was good, but now there should be this component to it, that thinking, meditating on the message of the Master. So we want that part to this worship, and therefore we, for every such occasion, we arrange a symposium where the speakers are practicing the teachings. They are, of course, students who study these things, good scholars, and more importantly, they try to put these teachings into practice. Today we have two wonderful speakers. One is Ezenwa Onbenyu. Is it right? The pronunciation of the last name is a bit problem. Yeah, I always struggle with the pronunciation of his last name. So anyway, that is not so important. Second speaker is our Moitreyi, Moitreyi Dhar from New York. So both are very well versed in right from childhood. Moitreyi has been kind of fed the milk of this Ramakrishna Vivekananda thought. So she grew up with that, a very intelligent lady, and so I have requested her to speak. And so we will have a feast of Swami Vivekananda's great thinking this evening. But before that, we will have an opening song. That song is composed, a Sanskrit song composed by Sharat Chandra Chakravarti, a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. And this composition is, of course, tremendously devotional, but also brings out the essential character of the personality of Vivekananda. And therefore, this song is very popular, very often sung in praise of Swami Vivekananda. We have quite a band now gathered to, perform this song. So all the performers, please come forward. Huh? Yeah, yeah. You are already forward. You don't have to go further forward.
ऊर्ध्वमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर भीष्टममर नरवन्द्य मूर्धमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर भीष्टममर नरवन्द्य वन्दे वेदतनुमूर्छितगर्हित काञ्चन कामबान्धा वन्दे वेदतनुमूर्छितगर्हित काञ्चन कामबान्धा मूर्धमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर नीष्टममरण कोटिभानुकरदीप्तसिंगमहो कटितटे कौपिनवान्ता कोटिभानुकरदीप्तसिंगमहो कटितट कौपिनवान्ता अभिरभिरोङ्करनादितदिङ्मुख प्रचण्ड ताण्डव नृत्या अभिरभिरोङ्करनादितदिङ्मुख प्रचण्ड ताण्डव नृत्या मूर्धमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर इष्टममरण वन्द्य मुक्ति कृपा कटाक्ष प्रेक्षण अगदल विदलन दक्ष बालचन्द्रधर निन्दुवन्द्यमिह नौमि गुरु विवेकानन्द मुक्ति कृपा कटाक्ष प्रेक्षण अगदल विदलन दक्ष बालचन्द्रधर निन्दुवन्द्यमिह नौमि गुरु विवेकानन्द मूर्धमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल इष्टममरनरवन्द्य वन्दे वेदतनुचितगर्हित काञ्चन कामबान्धा मूर्तमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर इष्टममरनरवन्द्य मूर्तमहेश्वरमुज्ज्वल भास्कर इष्टममरनरवन्द्य इष्टममरनरवन्द्य इष्टममरनरवन्द्य
So first to speak in this symposium is Moitreyi. She is a brilliant student majoring in psychology and is already applying for the med school. So I request her to begin her speech.
Pranam, everyone. So, on this wonderful occasion, I initially thought of honoring Swami Vivekananda through a commentary of his numerous achievements, spanning from his musical prose to his spiritual greatness. However, we're all very familiar with Swamiji's excellence, and a list of his contributions to mankind would definitely take a lot longer than 15 minutes. So, today, in appreciation of his unparalleled character, I'll discuss his life as a pioneer in Vedanta and share the beauty behind his profound thinking. Swami Vivekananda lived a fulfilling yet simple life. Born in Kolkata on Monday, January 12, 1863, he spent the next 39 years of his life spreading the message of Vedanta throughout India and beyond, as well as translating his illuminating vision to one that was applicable through a practical life. He strove to teach others of the Atman, the real self, which he described to be ever pure and immortal, yet hidden by the ego. Swamiji's emphasis on this idea is well known from his famous saying that each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity within. The beauty behind such thinking lies in the fact that Swamiji did not describe spiritual realization as an exclusive experience. He stressed that every individual, regardless of caste, creed, nationality, or any other form of category, had divinity within them. Swami Vivekananda's mission focused on rousing awareness in the people of this divine spark in order to help them manifest this divinity in every aspect of their lives. We are so fortunate to have such an uplifting and determined figure who was able to spread his message in a time when the diffusion of spiritual thought was challenging and often unheard of. It was Swamiji's resilient character that motivated him to project Vedanta throughout India and extend its influence into the Western world. Driven by the blessings of his guru, Sri Ramakrishna, Swamiji presented glorious teachings in a practical way that could be absorbed by the masses. In his discussion of Vedanta, he stated that the Vedanta does not in reality denounce the world, but rather focuses on giving up the world as we think of it, as we know it, as it appears to us and to know what it really is. These brilliant statements translated the powerful message of Vedanta to ideologies that were tangible to the common man. Now, as we learn of the tremendous influence of Swami Vivekananda in current times, we can see how his journey through life exemplifies courage and strength, which is why he is an important representation of spirituality for all generations. The year 2023 marks the 160th year since the birth of Swamiji, and after all these years, some may face an internal question. How can one still apply Swamiji's teachings today? Now, a deep dive into practical Vedanta is definitely a discussion I'm not well equipped for, but I still am a witness to how Swamiji's lessons have transcended time. As a fighter against fear, he is described as an incarnation of Shakti and a powerful embodiment of energy. Throughout his messages to the people, he consistently spoke of the importance of fearlessness. Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. This lesson, among many others, revealed that it is essential to face obstacles with a strong mindset, especially in the contemporary world. This simple yet powerful message is one that can be translated to our thoughts, to our actions, and to our reality. As someone who's still in school, I've realized how this message should be remembered even during our smallest everyday actions, so that we are reminded of the conviction that is necessary to continue on our path. Swami Vivekananda's philosophical emphasis of strength in physical and moral aspects of life is one of many examples of values that we, members of the 21st century, can still uphold in our personal spiritual journeys. Alongside his fearless character, Swamiji's discussion of Karma Yoga also provides insight into the application of Vedantic practice in the modern world. He was well aware of our life in our material realm and presented Karma Yoga to the people as a way to perform service to God. In his description of the law of karma, Swamiji states how when persons begin to do good, they become stronger and stronger and learn to do good at all times. The practice of Karma Yoga is essential to human development and displays how life and work go hand in hand. This blending of spiritual ideals with matters of the world demonstrated beautifully the idea that there isn't a strict definition of a spiritual path, that every individual is afforded the chance to achieve bliss. These teachings indicate why Swamiji's mission was a universal one. He spread the message of Vedanta with a clarity that was digestible to those who listened, and he purposefully spoke of principles that could be implemented in daily life. Such ideas are still very applicable in the modern age and point to the many facets involved in spiritual growth. Now, while reading through pages of Swamiji's eloquent thoughts on karma, I came across his discussion of knowledge and education. More specifically, the importance of spirituality in the acquisition of knowledge. As a student, I thought it'd be interesting to share Swamiji's insight about education, but not through the academic lens that we're used to, but rather as a means to attain truth. When describing the purpose of education, he mentions that the knowledge which is focused on unraveling the spiritual possibilities within us is of the highest importance. Through self-knowledge, we gain a deeper understanding of man and of the inner essence. This reveals a dominating theme in Swamiji's messages, which is to turn our focus within and remove the distractions that prevent us from such self-discovery. Swamiji beautifully states how our desires to understand the universe align with our inability to understand ourselves, and how The spirit in man and the spirit in the universe are not two, but one, identical in nature. This push to look inward explains why Swamiji's messages were so captivating. He again and again empowered the people with encouragements of strength and introspection. Through his philosophy, I was introduced to education as a form of spiritual development. It is clear how, by addressing various elements of humanity, Swamiji succeeded in accepting all in his mission of inciting spiritual awakening. As an illumined mind, he devoted his life to sharing the valuable message of Vedanta to others. He was the epitome of a true sannyasin. Throughout the many years he spent dedicating his life to transforming the boundaries of Hinduism, Swamiji emphasized the teachings of Vedanta through relatable experiences. He simplified these messages in order to demonstrate that the imaginary boundary that existed between the lives of the people and religion was just that, imaginary. Today, we are surrounded by a life that we deem separate from our religious path. We attend to worldly obligations, assuming that work and worship remain and should remain distinct. Swamiji has countlessly, in the spirit of Vedanta, pushed for us to break such separations and strive to attain truth in every aspect of our lives. This is what makes Swami Vivekananda the great spiritual giant that he is. He made room for no excuses, and through his words, he helped the masses rise from the struggle of life and search for something greater. He says, "Be and make. Let this be our motto. Say not man is a sinner. Tell him that he is God." His call for the search of the divine self is what distinguished Swamiji as the champion for the people. And over a century and a half later, his messages still resonate. So, on this day, as we celebrate the birth of an extraordinary character, let us also rejoice in remembrance of the message he spread. Let us incorporate his words into our actions so that we are reinvigorated on our spiritual journeys and reminded of the divinity that exists within. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Maitri. And now I request our friend Eze. He is a very powerful thinker and speaker. It is always a joy to hear him speak and dwell deep into a concept. It is, I always loved his skills to just remove the cover, as it were, and see that is inside. And then he brings it out in a very skillful way. So, Eze, please.
My origin story for Swamiji. Every superhero has an origin story. Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive spider. Superman was transported from an alien world. Batman fell into a cave and was molested by bats. Wolverine was kidnapped by the CIA and injected with a top secret metal, and so on. Even as comic book superheroes have origin stories, spiritual superheroes have origin stories as well. The origin story of Swami Vivekananda comes to us directly from the mouth of God. Sri Ramakrishna describes, "One day I found that my mind was soaring high in samadhi along a luminous path. The mind reached a luminous barrier that separated the sphere of relative existence from that of the absolute. Crossing that barrier, the mind entered the transcendental realm. The next moment, I found 7 sages seated there in samadhi. I was reflecting on their greatness when I saw a portion of that undifferentiated luminous region condense into the form of a divine child. The child came to one of the sages. The magic touch roused the sage from his superconscious state. In great joy, the divine child said to him, 'I'm going down. You too must go with me.' The sage remained mute, but his tender look expressed his assent. I was surprised to find that a fragment of the sage's body and mind was descending on earth in the form of an effulgent light. As soon as I saw Naren, I recognized him to be that sage." Now that you have heard the authentic origin story, I will now share my origin story for Swamiji. But why? Swamiji explains, no man is born to any religion. He has a religion in his own soul. No two persons have the same religion. So, my Swamiji is not your Swamiji. And that is why my Swamiji has a unique origin story. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, beyond our sensory world and in the outer limits of superconsciousness, there is a beautiful country known as Vijnana. In that luminous realm, Buddha and Adi Shankara sat in lotus posture, opposite each other, absorbed in highest meditation. Then suddenly, Buddha and Adi Shankara opened their eyes and lovingly gazed at each other. Buddha then said, there is a lack. Adi Shankara replied, oh, yes, yes, friend, there is a lack. Buddha asked, but what? What shall we do? Adi Shankara replied, oh, I see. Aha! Let us call on Mother. So they both stretched out their legs, restlessly flailed their arms while shedding copious tears, and cried, I want my mommy. Where is mommy? A short distance away stood Sri Sarada Devi, the Divine Mother of the universe. She was nicely cooking a pot of rice, and hearing the cries of her children, she carefully took down the boiling pot from the fire and swiftly walked over to the boys. She warmly embraced Buddha and Adi Shankara in her loving arms. She warmly and then placed them on her lap and consoled them with words of affection. As the boys smilingly gazed into the infinite eyes of the Universal Mother, Buddha and Adi Shankara began merging into an intensely luminous ball of light. And that superlative light, brighter than a million suns, slowly congealed into Narendra. Holy Mother then said, "My sweet child, now there is no lack. Go into the world and teach suffering humanity." The end. Let us try to unpack this origin story by examining its narrative elements, the setting, the characters, the problem, and the solution. First is the setting. The story takes place in Vijnana, the highest plane of spiritual awareness. Sri Sarada Devi explains, it is in the mind alone that a person feels pure or impure. He who has a pure mind sees everything as pure. That is to say, we see what we carry in ourselves, and we all carry distinctions within our minds. Distinctions such as self and not self, known and unknown. If we examine the antagonisms in the world, be it gender or geopolitics or race or income class or religion, the atmosphere of delusion and fear is charged across lines of distinction. In the sublime realm of Vijnana, God is in everything. Sri Ramakrishna says, when I look on a woman of noble character, I see in her the Divine Mother arrayed in the modest garb of a chaste lady. And again, when I look upon the prostitutes of the city, sitting in their open verandas, arrayed in the garb of immodesty and shamelessness, I see in them the same Divine Mother, sporting in a different way. Second is the characters. The main character is Sri Sarada Devi, the infinitely dynamic consciousness. She is the unity of all existence. The eternal principles of procession and formation unfold through her creative will. Inside her rice pot is the universal play of consciousness, the cosmic dance of whirling galaxies and countless living beings. All the world teachers, Buddha, Adi Shankara, Vivekananda, and so on, are her messengers. Third is the problem. There was something lacking in the message of Buddha and Adi Shankara. Swami Vivekananda explains the problematic. About Buddha, Swamiji says, Buddha was the first human being to give to the world a complete system of morality. He was the living embodiment of true Vedanta, but Buddha made the fatal mistake of thinking that the whole world could be lifted to the height of the Upanishads. Buddha found a solution to human suffering, the Noble Eightfold Path, but he remained silent on metaphysical questions pertaining to the nature of God and the soul, and the nemesis of neglected metaphysics in the form of rapidly proliferating interpretations overtook Buddhism soon after Buddha passed away. And the bitter disagreement amongst his followers resulted that Buddhism ceased to represent a consistent philosophy. About Adi Shankara, Swamiji says, Shankara came, a great philosopher, and showed that the real essence of Buddhism and that of the Vedanta are not very different. But Shankaracharya made the tremendous mistake to think that the whole of the Vedas say only one thing. Therefore, he was guilty of torturing those of the apparently conflicting Vedic texts which go against his own doctrine into the meaning of his particular school. In his commentary on the Mandukya Upanishad, Shankara remarks, between the real and the apparent, there is no positive relation definable by words. That is to say, the multiplicity of names and forms cannot be traced to Brahman, being a mere superimposition. In his commentary on the Brahma Sutras, Shankara states, the changefulness and the changelessness of the same Brahman cannot be maintained. Sri Ramakrishna terms these realizations as jnana. Jnana is based on analysis and negation. It divides reality into the real and the unreal, pure spirit and dark matter, knowledge and ignorance, and then asserts that these contraries are coupled by Maya, a mysterious principle that associates the dissociated. But this Maya does not actually exist in Brahman, but inexplicably adheres to Brahman through beginningless ignorance, like the illusory snake that appears in place of the actual rope in the dim light of dusk. In contrast, Vijnana is based on synthesis and affirmation. Sri Ramakrishna says, Maya is to Brahman what the snake in motion is to the snake at rest. Divine power in action is Maya. Divine power in latency is Brahman. The snake is not affected by the venom in its fangs, but when it bites another, the venom kills the creature bitten. Likewise, there is Maya in God, but it does not affect him, while the same Maya causes the delusion of the whole universe. Fourth is the solution. The need of the present age is the union of Buddha and Adi Shankara. Swamiji explains, in Buddha, we had the great universal heart and infinite patience, making religion practical and bringing it to everyone's door. In Shankaracharya, we saw tremendous intellectual power, throwing the scorching light of reason upon everything. We want today that bright sun of intellectuality joined with the heart of Buddha, the wonderful infinite heart of love and mercy. This union will give us the highest philosophy. The Vijnana of Ramakrishna Vivekananda is that highest philosophy. The realization of Vijnana resolves the opposition between reality and appearance, between unity and multiplicity, between changelessness and changefulness, by a more integral, more complete form of experience. Sri Ramakrishna narrates, the Divine Mother revealed to me in the Kali temple that it was she who had become everything. She showed me that everything was full of consciousness. The image was consciousness. The water was consciousness. The altar was consciousness. The water vessels were consciousness. The door sill was consciousness. The marble floor was consciousness. All was consciousness. Swami Turiyananda, a great Vedantin and disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, comments on this experience. Why should it not be possible to see the worship vessels as Brahman, saturated with consciousness? There is nothing but God. God verily is all. Names and forms originate from Him and remain in Him. The waves, the foam, the bubbles, they are all nothing but water. Who cares if your doctrine of superimposition stands or falls? He who has known this truth cannot be content with a lesser viewpoint. Swami Vivekananda boldly declares, let the end and the means be joined into one. That is to say, practical vijnana, the worship of the God that is all around us. Sri Ramakrishna has condensed this highest philosophy in a precept, Shiva Jnani, Jiva Seva. Serve God in man. Worship God through service to humanity. But wait, I have not seen God. How shall I see the divine action in the circumstances of the present moment? With the eye of faith. Swamiji says, have faith in man, whether he appears to you to be a very learned one or a most ignorant one. Have faith in man, whether he appears to be an angel or the very devil himself. Have faith in man first, and then, having faith in him, believe that if there are defects in him, if he makes mistakes, believe that it is not from his real nature that they come, but from the want of higher ideals. But wait, I do not have such an all-encompassing faith. Swamiji says, with most people, religion is a sort of intellectual assent and goes no further than a document. We need to go forward. Mere intellectual assent is static and passive. There is no transformation of character. That dormant seed of assent must be made active, must mature into conviction. Swamiji says, gradually, by purity and unselfishness, we can make the obscuring medium less and less dense, until at last it becomes as transparent as glass. Progressive purification of heart and mind is the one essential thing. For purity rouses faith. Purity awakens intuition. Faith and intuition are complementary developments. As the seed of faith begins to mature, the intuitive heart unfurls in tandem. And every now and then, we get a glimpse of his beauty. We feel a particle of his tremendous love, and doubts gradually vanish. As our longing intensifies and eventually knows no bounds, we attain to the epitome of faith, belief based on direct perception. Swamiji says, if you go below the surface, you find that unity between man and man, between races and races, high and low, rich and poor, gods and men and animals. If you go deep enough, all will be seen as only variations of the one. And he who has attained to this conception of oneness has no more delusion. Swami Vivekananda invokes a renewal of the mind by cultivating a habit of perception and a dedicated mode of action. He says, from the highest cosmic being to the yonder worm, and to the very minutest atom, everywhere is the same God, the all-love. Friend, offer mind, soul, body at their feet. These are his manifold forms before thee. Rejecting them, where seekest thou God? This practical vijnana accords with the laws of mind. What you think deeply and consistently, that gradually becomes the inclination of your awareness. Or put simply, today's imagination will be tomorrow's realization. Swami Vivekananda, a great disciple of Sri Sarda Devi, explains, the worship of God and man instituted by Swamiji is not merely unselfish, unattached work for the good of others to gain purification of the heart, but it is an entirely new process of spiritual discipline for the realization of God, through the practice of a wonderful harmony of knowledge, meditation, devotion, and selfless action. And because it is so, it directly leads to the attainment of spiritual freedom. For in this path, one must conceive of God through Jnana Yoga as the one reality of the multiform universe and of every individual being. Meditate on God through Raja Yoga as the inmost self of all living beings. To be attached to God through Bhakti Yoga with whole-souled devotion, and through Karma Yoga, serve God with impartial, desireless actions. We find the confluence of Buddha and Adi Shankara in the precept Atmano Mokshartam Jagat Hitayacha, for the emancipation of the self, for the good of the world. Spiritual liberation through self-knowledge is the essence of Adi Shankara. Supreme compassion for all beings is the essence of Buddha. The union of wisdom and compassion is the essence of Swami Vivekananda. And to that incarnation of the great God Shiva, I offer my salutations again and again.
Okay, let it be. This is all right. Instead of raising me up, let us bring this down. Mm, wonderful. Thank you, Eze. A wonderful presentation about the combination of Buddha and Shankara, the two great spiritual teachers of the world, into this modern world to bring the message home to us about manifesting our divinity through this a synthesis of various yoga disciplines. As it nicely pointed out, Atmano Mokshartham Jagadhitaya cha, for the liberation of the self and for the welfare of the world. So it is a very mystic and cryptic sentence, which has actually tremendous meaning as we meditate on it. Swami Vivekananda is actually, many say that he was the chief disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. I think it is understatement. He is Sri Ramakrishna himself in another body. If we look at the various instances about Sri Ramakrishna transforming all his powers to him towards the end of his life, then making Vivekananda move all over India and then go to the Western world to transmit the message. And his biography, Vivekananda's biography, narrates that every now and then the household that Vivekananda was staying, they would hear at the night Vivekananda talking to somebody. There was nobody else entering there. And when it was asked, well, with whom you were talking? He didn't answer, but it was known that it was Sri Ramakrishna that was talking to him. He later on described it that all these ideas were given to him by Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna now appeared according to the need of the spreading of the message in this body of Vivekananda. You cannot imagine Sri Ramakrishna giving the lectures in English in that body. Can you think of it? It is ridiculous, you know. That's but therefore he could manufacture the bodies as per need. So he manufactured this instrument and Narendranath to Vivekananda, as has been very nicely described from the realm of the beyond relative existence. There are these seven sages, and one of them came at the behest of a child that was a congealment of the tremendous luster around there. A portion of that luster became a little child, and then, urged by this child, this sage said, yes, I will follow. And the child, Sardananda's biography says that this child was actually Sri Ramakrishna. So, it is for the work of Sri Ramakrishna he comes, and then we see the giving of message, the great idea that we see here, that is very difficult to emulate actually, is to present the message of Vedanta without the background of Indian culture. It is, we are habituated to take the Indian culture, and on the background of that, we convey this message. But then it becomes not very useful for those who do not have this cultural background. And there we see the tremendous unique greatness of Vivekananda of giving this same age old eternal message, but on the background of a Western culture, Western history, Western mythology. When we see his, say, for example, lectures on Jnana Yoga, he gives the examples, he draws the examples from Greek mythology and quotes the, from these things that are familiar to the Western audience. So they become intelligible and practicable. Another thing that both today's wonderful speakers pointed out, that eradication of this fictitious line of separating the secular and the spiritual. In fact, Sister Nivedita also points out that this is something very unique that Swami Vivekananda did, because gradually humankind uh, crystallizes the great message to suit their convenience. We want to be religious, but at the same time, we want to, have all this worldly exploits, worldly pleasures, and so forth. So the mind tells, let us do both. So we will devote about 15% or 20% or 10% of our effort for the worship and meditation and all that. And then we have our worldly secular life. We will lead that. So both actually are thus put in life. That is actually, it is cheating. It is not at all doing justice to anything. In fact, the spirituality becomes only an external, facade. Under the that facade, we cultivate our worldliness. So it is Vivekananda said and demonstrated that everything must be converted into this spiritual life. Every single action that we perform has to become worship. The purpose he so beautifully points out, that what the ignorant call as human being, we should worship that God. That is God. We should worship seeing that as God. One of my teachers very beautifully said that what is this spiritual life? What we see as matter, what we in ignorance see as matter, we must be able to see that as this just consciousness, this spirit, this self, the same I in everything. That is that getting spiritually illumined. And this is the journey. One has to conscientiously take up that journey, friends. It is not impossible. Swami Vivekananda has showed us this path, that how we can employ. Actually, I am to speak about it tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock. Vivekananda as teacher of yoga. But now I will collect material from today's speakers and then kind of compile them. My job has been made very easy by today's these wonderful these talks. And so this is, there is the path there that we have to follow. So let us take this inspiration today. And uh, I thank both these wonderful speakers of this evening, and thank you all for attending. Now I will give the closing prayer, then we shall have the Shivanam Sankirtanam, and then Prasad. So please join in reciting the closing prayers. May the divine Oh, it is yet to appear there. Sometimes takes a little while. Okay, finally it is here. Yeah. May the divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. देवमुमापतिं सुरगुरुं वन्दे जगत्कारणं वन्दे पन्नगभूषणं मृगधरं वन्दे पशूनां पतिम् वन्दे सूर्यशशाङ्कवह्निनयनं वन्दे मुकुन्दप्रियं वन्दे भक्तजनाश्रयं च वरदं वन्दे शिवं शङ्करम् गात्रं भस्मसितं सितं च हसितं हस्ते कपालं सितं खट्वाङ्गं च सितं सितश्च वृषभ कर्णे सिते कुण्डले गङ्गाफेनसिता जटा पशुपते चन्द्रस्थितो मूर्धनि सोऽयं सर्वसितो ददातु विभवं पापक्षयं सर्वदा नान्यतृषा पशुपते हृदये त्वदीये चित्तं वहामि चरणे पशुपाशनाशीं निष्ठां प्रदेहि परमां त्वयि ब्रह्मरूपे निर्दोषपूर्णचरितं कुरु मां धृतं च। ॐ श्री गौरी गणेश षडानन परिवार समेत श्री पंचानन परब्रह्मणे नमः। ॐ नमः शिवाय शान्ताय शंकराय नमो नमः। हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव हर पूर्ण परात्पर परम कृपाणव अगणित गुण गण अद्भुत मौलिक चंद्र कलाधर अमराधीश्वर पुरुष पुरातन ब्रह्म सनातन स्वानंदामृतमत्त शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव नीलकंठ शिव संकट मोचन लीलाधीश्वर सकल शिव अमित गुणार्णव चंद्रेश्वर शिव अचल निवास सुरेश शिव सुर नर सेवित श्री हरि पूजित इंद्राद्यर्पित जनक शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव हर शुद्ध धारण भुजग विभूषण अंधकरि कुशिति कंठ शिव त्रिभुवन पालक त्रिभुवन नाशक त्रिभुवन सुभग सुभग शिव ईश महेश नरेश कृपालव केशव सेवित पूर्ण शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा हर मायाधीश्वर तटन मनोहर अखिल जनाश्रय श्रेष्ठ शिव शंभु त्रिलोचन मौलि विभूषण धनुज विनाशन भयद शिव कलिमल नाशन शिव पंचानन रावण सेवित वरद शिव हर
जराम रणादि विनाशन कोश विवर्धन शुभद शिव हर सांब सदा शिव हर सुर दल नायक जय सुखकारक दोष निवारक धवल शिव हर तापत्रय वदन मनोहर इंदेश्वर शिव चरम शिव हर विनय प्रसारक रतिमति दायक चिर शुभ साधक सतत शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव हर ओंकार प्रिय योगी जनाश्रय अजरामर धर धीश शिव हर निर्गुण गुणमय भुवनाधीश्वर निज जन पालक सौम्य शिव हर करुणा सागर शांत सुधार्णव साधक हित कर वंद्य शिव हर हर बिल्वदल प्रिय ज्ञानेश्वर शिव व्योमांबर धर दयित शिव हर गौरी प्रियकर दीन जनाश्रय श्रीपति पूजित प्रणव शिव हर शाप विमोचन ताप निवारण भयनाशन रौद्र शिव हर सांब सदा शिव हर कामेश्वर शिव नटराजेश्वर श्री परमेश्वर भव्य शिव हर स्वानंदामृत वर्षक शंकर अगति निरांतक सूर्य शिव हर अंतक शासन नायक भूषण पुरुष निरंजन भूप शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव हर आशुतोष हर शिव गंगाधर चंद्रचूड गुरु दिव्य शिव हर राजेश्वर शिव मोक्ष विधायक सूर्य शंकर शूद्र शिव हर करुणामय हर वरदाभय हर परम शिव हर हर सागर जंगम सकल विलक्षण शोक निवारण पूर्ण शिव हर गिरिजापति गिरिजेश जटाधर शशांक शेखर योगी शिव हर कुहक विभागन पालक नाशन मदन विमर्दन वीर शिव हर हर ज्ञानेश्वर शिव ज्ञानेश्वर मोक्षद योगद शर्व शिव हर कमलासन ज्ञान प्रसारण करुणारुण समशोभ शिव हर दृढ़ मृगधर हर गौरीश्वर शिव धीश भवेश सुरेश शिव हर सांब सदा शिव हर नाग जन्मधर नागेश्वर हर ईश चिदंबर चंड विनाशन भास्वर लोचन भगत शिवहर निरुपमनेश्वर वागीश्वर शिव सर्व विधातकाल शिवहर प्रेम सुधारणव ब्रह्मधार गीत जना भय बलद शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव हर कन्नद भूषण हर पुरुषोत्तम परमानंद परेश शिव हर त्रिबुद्ध विनोदन भज कवि बोधन वीरेश्वर शिव धीर शिव हर आला हर भगवान हर शिव भय हर सुंदर ललित शिव हर सांब सदा कालेश्वर शिव काल महेश्वर कैलासेश्वर सदय शिव अर्धनटेश्वर पूर्ण महेश्वर शांती सुधाकर शरण शिव संसारार्णवतारक शंकर सहजानंद महेश शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव राम रव प्रद रामेश्वर शिव राघव पूजित रम्य शिव पाशुपतास्त्र किरात मदहर अर्जुन सेवित शरण शिव जय शिव शंकर गिरिजा वल्लभ लक्ष्मणान्तक विकट शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव हर राम कृष्ण प्रिय त्यागेश्वर हर मंगलकारक बोध शिव हर चक्र सुदर्शन दायक तारक हर कृष्णेश्वर तत्व शिव हर लावण्येश्वर शरधर नटवर लावण्यामृत प्रसिद्ध शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव हर विवेक भास्कर ज्ञान कलाधर जलतम नाशक द्रव्य शिव सर्वज्ञेश्वर गुरु स्मर हर भव चिन्मय रूप गिरीश शिव आदिकेश्वर भजनोत्तर वन्दे मानुष नेत्र शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव हर वामदेव प्रभु निखिल जगत गुरु हरि शरण धनुराम शिव हर गौरी पति गिरिजेश शिवावर व्योमकेश श्रीकंठ शिव अधमख अजभव शशधर धारि शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव श्रुति शत श्रावित सहस्र शीर्षक विश्वनाथ तारेश शिव सर्व जगत साक्षी सुरेश्वर सकल नयोत्तम शर्म शिव सार्वभौम गुरु परमेश्वर निखिल चराचर सौख्य शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब हर अद्वैतामृत शांति सुख प्रद आदि चिदीश्वर गुरु हर बाल चंद्र हर भानुकोटि सदा शिव सांब शिव हर उपमन्यु प्रिय महाबलेश्वर वरद परोर्णवदत्त शिव सर्वशास्त्र निर्देशक शंकर धिमि धिमि डमर निनाद शिव देव देव भगवानेश्वर शिव दीन जना प्रिय नयन शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव हर कृतांत शासक मार्कंडेश्वर मृत्युंजय शिव वरद शिव कुंदनाथ रे द्राक्षधर प्रिय विनाकधर हर भरत शिव आदिनाथ श्री केदारेश्वर भक्ति समन्वित सर्व शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव हर धर्म कर्म सर्वस्व समर्पण वेद शिखोत्थित धर्म शिव दश प्राष्टक सुत महादेव शिव निगमागम मतिकार्थ शिव ब्रह्म परात्पर पूर्णेश्वर सर्वजयाचर पूर्ण शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव हर सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब सदा शिव सांब शिव. We will skip this. Om Namah Shivaya Shantaya Karanatraya Hetave Nivedayami Chatmanam Tvam Gati Parameshwara. We all can proceed to basement for the Prasad supper. We shall chant the grace before that. Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaivate Nagantavyam Brahmakarma Samadhina Hari Om Tat Sat Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Lord, please accept our offering. Bless us, make us pure and all-loving. May we not accuse, demand or complain, but love, respect and cooperate with all. May we not find faults with others, but try to find our own faults. May we not treat others as strangers, but learn to make all our own. May we feel the whole world to be our own. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. So please proceed.